Well, just a few days now for the assembly elections in 5 Indian states. Very close are the elections for the state of Punjab. In fact, today was the last day of election campaigning in 2 states, one of Punjab and the other Goa. These 2 states will go to polls in a single phase on Saturday, the 4th of February, and all the political parties are roping in their bigwigs for last-minute campaigning. While the Congress is seeking to dethrone the Akali Dal BJP coalition in Punjab, the BJP is fighting anti-incumbency in Goa, where it has been in power for the last 5 years. 3 other states, including Uttar Pradesh, will go to polls later this month in multiple phases. All right, joining me live right now is our correspondent Raghavendra Rao. He's been tracking developments there as far as the Punjab elections are concerned very closely. Raghavendra, you've just come back, covering Punjab and the campaigning over there. Give us a sense of what are the major issues apart from the usual drugs and farmer suicides that dominate, campaigning and the promises that the leaders make at this time.
Sana, the Akalis in Punjab are fighting major anti-incumbency this time. Remember, the Akali BJP government has been ruling there for almost 10 years now. And, once any party is in power for 10 years, it is but natural for anti-incumbency to be there. So anti-incumbency is one of the major factors. But yes, in addition to that, the rampant drug abuse in Punjab, which has claimed dozens and dozens of lives in the state. So many youth have lost their lives to it. This is one issue that has emerged as a key electoral issue. All the parties are talking about it, the Congress, the Aam Aadmi Party, even the Akalis. Though the Akalis have been blamed for encouraging, drug trade and being hand in glove in this trade, but they have also, voiced their concerns against it. So the drug abuse in the state is indeed one of the major talking points in these elections.
Right. Also, Raghavendra, in Punjab, we've seen it in the past for many, many years. Out of these 117 assembly seats, when the contest is held, it's only the Shiromani Akali Dal and the BJP on the one hand and the Congress to an extent on the other, which are in contest. But this time, how do things change with the Aam Aadmi Party stepping in, making it almost like a three-cornered fight?
Absolutely. I mean, it is for the first time in Punjab's history that the contest has become triangular, and it is happening in almost all the major seats in the state. I mean, till this day, the pattern used to be that the Akalis and the BJP combined used to be on the one side, the Congress on the other, and both sides used to fight it out. And till the last elections, the pattern was that in one instance the Akalis would come to power, in the next instance the Congress would come to power. So the Akali government bucked that trend last time around in 2012 when they returned to power. That was the first time an incumbent had returned to power consecutively. This time, however, the entry of the Aam Aadmi Party has really changed the equations in Punjab. Aam Aadmi Party has gained considerable ground in the state, particularly in the Malwa region. This region, remember, has almost 68 to 69 out of the total 117 seats in Punjab. And this is where the Kejriwal-led party has made major inroads. This is where they hope to make the maximum gains. And in case the Aam Aadmi Party manages to perform well in the Malwa region, you never know. I mean, they could well be in a position to form the government. But the sentiment as of now is that, the Congress is very upbeat because, they are sensing power after 10 years. The Akalis may be a little subdued, but they are not acknowledging it as yet. But the Aam Aadmi Party, it's being looked upon as the joker in the pack, and they may be the ones who actually end up springing up a surprise these elections.
All right. Also, Raghavendra, very quickly, if you can talk us through some of the key contests. One does know that the Congress has named its chief ministerial candidate, Captain Amrinder Singh, and, he's contesting from Lambi. Also, Aam Aadmi Party's Jarnail Singh is contesting from Lambi. Give us a sense of, the significance of the seat, at this given point in time.
Well, Lambi has been dubbed as the grandfather of all electoral battles in the state this time. It is the bastion of Parkash Singh Badal. Parkash Singh Badal has been, Chief Minister of Punjab for 5 times now. He almost holds a record for having been the youngest Chief Minister of a state as well as the oldest Chief Minister of a state. Lambi is his citadel. He has never lost from there. Defeating Badal in Lambi is something which almost can be dubbed as impossible. Even the residents say so. But in taking the battle right up to the Badal's doorstep, Captain Amrinder Singh of the Congress has really played a very interesting card this time. He has taken the battle right up to Lambi, where he's fighting Badal from. And Jarnail Singh, the man who attained you can say fame or notoriety for having thrown a shoe at the then Union Home Minister P. Chidambaram. He's the person who has added to this triangle. He's the one who's fighting Badal as well as Amrinder there. So Lambi indeed is the seat to watch out for.
Absolutely, Raghavendra. Saturday, the 4th of February, will be the day when the fates of all these, politicians who are fighting in these elections, it's going to be sealed. Thanks so much for joining us with your inputs. All right, now moving on, talking about Uttar Pradesh Assembly elections, which are going to be held in several phases. Varun Gandhi, Murli Manohar Joshi and Vinay Katiyar have figured in BJP's second list of 40 star campaigners that is submitted to the Election Commission of India for the polls in the state. Varun Gandhi figured at the 39th spot in the list of 40 that every party has to submit to the Election Commission phase-wise. Varun Gandhi is a BJP lawmaker from Sultanpur in Uttar Pradesh, which votes only in the 5th phase of the 7-part UP elections. But it's known to have considerable influence in pockets of Western UP, which will go to polls in the first 2 phases. BJP's veteran Murli Manohar Joshi, an MP from Kanpur, has also made a comeback in the list. His omission from the first list, along with that of party patriarch L.K. Advani, had raised several eyebrows there. All right, let me get in our chief domestic correspondent Kartikesh Sharma for more on what's happening as far as the Uttar Pradesh elections are concerned. Kartikesh, first it's Punjab and Goa that go to elections, but at the center of these assembly elections is Uttar Pradesh. And now that the BJP has come out with this list, give us a sense of, is there any surprise or sense of relief with Murli Manohar Joshi figuring in the list along with, Vinay Katiyar?
No. I think the basic thrust of the new issue is that what they have done is that they have accommodated Murli Manohar Joshi and they have accommodated Varun Gandhi because they must have their honourable face savers. They are the MPs. Murli Manohar Joshi has been the president of the Bharatiya Janata Party, a man who did his Padyatra, went to the Srinagar, and the whole issue was that he tried to create a very stronger version of the right-wing BJP, which Vajpayee did not approve of. But anyway, he has been allowed that leeway and he has been put in the part of Margdarshak Mandal, and he has been an MP in the East. He has enjoyed a lot of status in terms of the upper caste constituency, so he has been accommodated. Whereas Varun Gandhi too has been accommodated. But what it means is, Sana, marginalization of Varun and Murli Manohar Joshi. That's the bottom line.
Also, Kartikeya, it's going to be a staggered election as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned. Which of the particular faces would you say would be the most keenly watched out for in these elections in the state?
Two elections. I think for me as a political commentator, whether AAP is able to defeat Congress party in Punjab, that's going to be very, very important. Because if AAP is going to do that, it becomes a national alternative. And how strong the BJP will be, because right now, the sort of feedback which we are getting is, it's a fight in which Congress plus Akhilesh Yadav and BSP, they are at the top. Bharatiya Janata Party, despite the polls, and let me put it on record at my own credibility, is not doing well, Sana.
All right, Kartikeya, thanks so much for joining us for the moment. We'll, of course, be keeping a very close eye and a detailed coverage of the assembly elections right here on WION. Well, moving on now, a textbook for class 12 students in the state of Maharashtra lists dowry as a major social problem in India. But the chapter takes an outrageous turn when it identifies ugliness and handicap as causes of the social ill. The chapter, titled Major Social Problems in India, in a sociology textbook for the Maharashtra State Board secondary and higher secondary students, goes on to describe how ugly women find it difficult to get married and hence the dowry culture prevails. Well, the paragraph from chapter 3 in the sociology textbook, titled Major Social Problems in India, reads, and I quote, "If a girl is ugly and handicapped, it becomes very difficult for her to get married. To marry her, the girl's bridegroom and his family demand more dowry. The helpless parents of such girls are then forced to pay up."
You see, demand of dowry by itself is illegal, whether it is because of a girl being ugly or for any other deficiency. So we have to fight against dowry system as such, and therefore what this book says should not be taken as an offense. It should be taken as an eye-opener, and all of us must turn, the women's activists, etc., far from just expressing their anguish. They must look into themselves and see that in our society, dowry system still prevails, and how best we can get out of it.
Right. In fact, this is shocking, considering that it comes as part of learning curve of a child in a sociology book of class 12th. And what's more shocking is that this book is approved, the text is approved by the Secondary and Higher Secondary Education Board of the state of Maharashtra. Quite understandably, this textbook and the news surrounding it is drawing a lot of flack from all age groups, from teachers as well, from college professors as well. Let's try and get you a perspective from Abha Singh. She's a social activist joining me over the phone line right now. Thank you so much, Ms. Singh, for joining us here on the broadcast. How appalled are you when you heard about this report? First, let me ask you.
It's unbelievable. It is shocking. In fact, I would say it is disgraceful that at such young age these children are exposed to such garbage when they should be taught values. They are being taught such obnoxious things that if a girl is ugly, you have to pay dowry, and they are trying to justify an offense, because in India, giving or taking dowry is an offense under 498A of the IPC, where there is an imprisonment up to 3 years. And here an offense is being justified on grounds of beauty. It is unbelievable. In fact, the people who are responsible for getting this chapter, they should be dismissed from their job.
All right. Also, Ms. Abha Singh, but don't you think this is in line with what India as a society is really showing up in terms of not just in textbooks, but also on television? You have these fairness screams. Those two, we've had debates about that, but it continues. You know, the idea of beautiful and ugly, it's very well laid out there and, you know, dictated as well to people that this is acceptable and this is not.
Exactly. Fairness screams, I would again say, is a racial discrimination, because a person who's dark, you're making him conscious. And in fact, it is shocking that film stars like Shah Rukh Khan come forward and do ads for fairness screams. In fact, the government should take it seriously and ban such advertisements, because somewhere you are lowering the esteem of people. You are not appreciating their talents, but you are making a racial segregation, which as per the constitution is not viable, because we talk of Article 14, which says equality before law and equal protection of laws. So this chapter which has come in this school, coming to the point, I think HRD ministry must order an inquiry. The Maharashtra minister should be asked to give a reply on this in the assembly, and meanwhile this chapter should be struck out immediately.
Absolutely. Point taken, Ms. Abha Singh. Thanks so much for joining us here and sharing your thoughts on the show. Well, now moving on, a special court on Thursday dropped all charges against former telecom minister Dayanidhi Maran, his brother Kalanidhi Maran and others in the Aircel Maxis deal cases lodged by the CBI as well as the Enforcement Directorate. The CBI had alleged that Dayanidhi Maran, as minister in the UPA-1 government, used his influence to help Malaysian businessmen buy Aircel by coercing its owner to part with his stake. However, a special judge discharged Maran, his brother as well, Kalanidhi's wife, Kaveri, South Asia FM Limited Managing Director, as well as two companies, SAFL and Sun Direct Private Limited, in two different cases linked to this deal. We're taking a very short break here. We'll be back with lots more news and updates. Stay with us. You're watching Your World Tonight. I'm Sana Khan. Now let's get your news from Britain, where Prime Minister Theresa May's plan to take the country out of the European Union has cleared its first legislative hurdle, paving way for the government to launch exit talks by the end of March. May's government is seeking approval for a new law giving her the right to trigger Article 50 of EU's Lisbon Treaty, which is the legal process for leaving the bloc. UK Supreme Court had previously ruled that she could not take the decision unilaterally. The bill could complete the legislative process by 7th of March, and Theresa May wants to begin exit negotiations with the European Union by the 31st of March. This will begin 2 years of negotiations that will define Britain's economic and political future.
Well, late last night, British MPs voted on the Brexit bill, and it was passed with an overwhelming majority, so that means that Britain can start the process of Brexit. Now, the opposition Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn had told his party that they must pass the bill and issued what's called a three-line whip. It's where a party leader dictates to his party in the strongest possible terms how they should vote. Now, even though he had issued this three-line whip, 47 members of his party rebelled and voted against it, but it was not enough to block the bill, so now it's going to go to the House of Lords, where they're going to debate it and vote on it. It's extremely unlikely to get blocked there. The House of Lords is made up of peers who are unelected, and it would be seen as highly undemocratic and defying the will of the people if they tried to stop it. So what opposition MPs are going to focus on now is adding amendments to Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit strategy so they have a say on how she negotiates Britain's exit from the European Union ahead of any formal talks she has with the EU.
That was our London Bureau Chief Mandy Clark. Now moving on, a report in US media has claimed that President Donald Trump berated Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull over the phone while discussing a refugee swap deal. Trump telephoned Turnbull to discuss plans to send refugees from Manus Island and Nauru to the US. Later, he took to Twitter to describe the agreement between the previous Obama administration and Australia on refugees as a quote-unquote dumb deal. The reports also quoted White House officials as saying that Trump hung up on Turnbull after a 25-minute-long telephonic conversation. The Australian Prime Minister, meanwhile, has refused to comment on these reports, saying that he had a candid and frank conversation with Donald Trump.
I'm not going to comment on a conversation between myself and the President of the United States, other than what we have said publicly, and you can surely understand the reasons for that. I appreciate your interest, but it's better that these conversations are conducted candidly, frankly, privately. If you'll see reports of them, I'm not going to add to them.
In other news, US President Donald Trump has threatened to send US troops to Mexico to stop what he calls bad hombres. Trump made this remark during a phone call with his Mexican counterpart Enrique Peña Nieto last week. He said, and I quote, "You have a bunch of bad hombres down there. You aren't doing enough to stop them. I think your military is scared. Our military isn't. So I just might send them down to take care of it," unquote. Now, it's not clear what exactly Trump meant when he said bad hombres, or the tone and the context of this remark, but the US president had used the same phrase during his campaign days as well, when he vowed to get rid of US drug lords. The two leaders have had a series of public spats after Trump said that he will make Mexico pay for the border wall. And moving on to sports, the world's fastest man, Usain Bolt, says he is reconciled to the fact that he is no longer a 9-time Olympic gold medalist. Bolt, who made history after winning the 100-meter sprint, the 200 meters and the 4x100 meters relay at the Beijing Olympics, London Olympics and Rio Games, has lost the relay gold from Beijing after teammate Nesta Carter tested positive for doping.
Initially disappointed, of course, but in life things happen. I'm not sad. I'm waiting to see what Nesta is going to do. It's something that I've been looking forward to. I've been training, I've been getting ready, so I'm excited to go something different.
Over to golf now. Tiger Woods struggled for the second time within a week as he continues his comeback at the Dubai Desert Classic. Woods missed the cut at the Farmers Insurance Open and continued in the opening round of the Dubai Desert Classic. Woods carded his worst ever round at the Emirates Golf Club, a 5 over par 77. There were no birdies in his round, and with leader Sergio Garcia 12 shots ahead after a round of 7 under 65, Woods needs a miracle now to avoid exiting after 2 days. India's Anirban Lahiri is 4 shots behind at 3 under par. Now, as we close the show, for all you foodies, We On Edge explores the fusion of flavors and cultures on Delhi streets on a food walk. All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Your World Tonight. We're taking a short break, but do stay tuned. We'll be back with lots more news and updates.